Hi, I'm Jessica Lombard, proud superintendent of Huntley 158. Welcome back to another episode of Raider Roundtable. Today, we're here to talk about the reasons schools exist, educating and empowering our students, which also just happens to be part of our Huntley 158 mission. I'd like to welcome two special guests today, Huntley High School senior Nico Kananashu and junior Emma Jorgensen. But before we dive in and get to know these fantastic students, I'd like to take a moment to explain why they're here. Getting students more involved in the decision-making process has been a goal of mine since becoming superintendent, and the board has shared this interest in hearing from our students. Last year, students of all ages across the district were involved in a strategic planning process. We learned valuable information from them that helped drive the priorities of our plan and develop the new portrait of a learner and the portrait of our learning environment. This year, we launched the new strategic plan, Huntley 2030, Building Tomorrow Together, and we're committed to elevating student voice at all levels, in our schools, at the district, and even on the Board of Education. Nico and Emma are here to do just that, as they've been named our new Board of Education Student Advisory Representatives. So here today, I'd like to welcome both of them. Welcome, Nico, and welcome, Emma. How are you both doing today?
Good.
I'm doing good, Miss Lombard.
Great. Well, we're super excited that you are here. We are embarking on a new era within the district. You guys are kind of like those groundbreakers. And I know you've been in the role here for a couple months, been at a few meetings, but so many people in our community and our schools aren't even aware of this opportunity. So before we get going, I'd like to have you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So Emma, we're going to have you kick that off.
So I'm a junior at Huntley, and I do track and cross country, and I'm part of National Honor Society and Global Academy at the high school.
Emma, you've also been a student here in 158 since kindergarten, haven't you? So you've gone through a variety of our different schools and our campuses. So welcome today, Emma. And Nico, how about you? Tell us a little bit about you and your involvement at the high school.
Yes, so I'm very involved at the high school. I serve as the student council president. I'm one of our Raider Nation leaders, which is our student section leaders. I'm a Link Crew commissioner, which is part of our freshman advisory program. And I serve as a PE leader for our adapted physical education program. And just like Emma, I've been in Huntley 158 for, I think, 12 years is my time, and that's been even before our Chromebooks.
Yeah, so you have so much experience and knowledge about our school system. You've probably seen a lot of change going on, which makes you the perfect people to be able to see where we've been, where we're going, and have some ideas about maybe where we should go in the future, even though you're close to graduation or will be graduating here within the next year or two. One of the things that I've come to know about you, not only are you involved here within the school district, but both of you are also involved in the community in a variety of aspects. And I think it's important to have that lens as you're thinking about Huntley 158 altogether. As we said, this was a new role. It was something we've talked about for a couple years. Nico, I know you've been aware of that. Emma, how did you become knowledgeable about this idea and think, that's something I want to apply for? What was your interest there?
Well, it was during the summer. I saw the email. I was out shopping, and I was looking at my email, and I saw it. And my mom also sent it to me too, because she knew that I've been looking for an opportunity like this for a while to get more involved. And so I saw it, and I was like, wow, this looks really cool. I was really happy that we were finding another way for students to be involved. So I went through the application. I filled out the application, and I just waited. And I was really excited about it.
Great. I know then you had to go through what our listeners and our viewers don't know is you had to do an application. You had to get some letters of recommendation. You actually had to have an interview, all of those things. And I think that that could be probably a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
but
it was very scary at first.
Both of you did very, very well with that. But we're very glad that you came across that email this summer. Nico, your experience with this was a little bit different. You were kind of waiting for this to happen. Tell us a little bit about your experiences.
Yes. So I think it was the fall fall of 2022, I watched a board meeting on YouTube. And then I just started becoming more involved, attending different meetings, having lots of conversations with board members and you, Ms. Lombard. And then this position itself, I was doing a class project for American government, and it was our CAP project. And I discovered this position, and I was like, this is what we need in Huntley 158. And so I waited a few years and had some conversations, and I really just am happy that this position has been put in place, and it's been a long-held dream of mine.
Great. Again, we've got one. Emma, you're a junior. Nico, you're a senior. And our goal is to consistently have two, but to have a 2-year term. You got to start somewhere, though, with that. Nico, I know you'll be graduating this year. You're welcome back to any of our board meetings in the future. But Emma, then you would stay on as a senior to bring on another junior. Part of that was set up for being able to mentor and have some of that consistency. Nico, I know that you've been to board meetings regularly in the past, and so while not having that role, you've got some insights or things that you'll be able to share, and it's really going to be a role that we're going to embrace together, and it will morph into different things throughout the year, so it's really, really exciting. Mm-hmm. When we think about that, I know it's something that I and our board and many of our school administrators want, that student voice and to be able to elevate that. Why do you think it's important to have a student representative that's at the board meetings being able to have a voice with these conversations? Emma?
Well, I hear just going about the day at school, I hear a lot of people say different things that they like, that they don't like, and I have opinions too. I hear what my fellow classmates say, and I think a lot of them don't know exactly how to get involved or how to make a change. Just kind of say it, Mm-hmm. And the board, they make decisions that affect all students, but they're not really there. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think it's really important for student voice to represent what the students want inside. So then we can, tell them.
Absolutely. When we think about that, our board members, they're volunteers. They have their jobs during the day. They're not able to be in and out. Even those of us who work at the district office are there as much as we can, but we're not there all day long. And as we make decisions, I think they're all well thought out decisions, but you're there every day. Mm-hmm. You're the eyes and ears of what's happening on an ongoing basis, and to be able to have that perspective is extremely important. Nico, I'm going to throw that same question to you. When you think about why it's important to have that student voice, what are some of your thoughts?
Yes, so when we think of the stakeholder groups of the district, we have our parents, we have our local community, and I think the number one stakeholder is our students. We are the customers mm-hmm. of the district, and we experience everything that goes on a daily basis. And while our board members may visit our schools from time to time, we experience the day-to-day. And I think being able to share that perspective with the board and the community is really important. Absolutely.
When you think about sitting there, right, most months we have 2 meetings a month. Sometimes it's only 1. And there are a variety of different committees and conversations that happen, from our finances and our budgets to our curriculum, to our policies. When you think about the roles or the impact that you would like to have, or how you'd like to see this morph, what do you see as the responsibilities that you will play in these board meetings?
I think that our responsibilities, I think one of the main ones is, it's talking to other students, but I also think it's listening mm-hmm. because, we have a lot of opinions. I think we need to listen to what other people are saying, and so we can, output what they're thinking.
Absolutely. When we think about communication, that's a skill that is extremely important. People often think about it's the verbal component that you're doing, and if you're able to articulate different viewpoints, but you've got to start with that listening component. And each of you are involved in a variety of things. You've got groups that you're able to listen to, but it's getting that larger scale. Because when we think about the conversations that we've had on topics throughout the last few board meetings that you've been on, there's different perspectives in those viewpoints. It's really about listening to them and being able to articulate and help make a decision that's best for all, because we won't be able to make something that's going to please each person or make people happy, but listening to what are those things and where are we going. Nico, how about from you? What is your thought on those responsibilities?
I think it's also not what me and Emma's opinions are. It's like what's all students, and for me, it's really important that we're getting all students. We're not just getting Huntley High School's opinions. We're getting our ECC's opinions all the way up to our light programs' opinions on different topics, and making sure that when we're providing feedback to the board that we're not thinking about our own opinions. We're thinking about the whole 8,500 students in Huntley 158.
Both of you are at the high school. You're on the end part of your career here, but it's thinking about even those kiddos that are in ECC in kindergarten all the way through. This isn't a question I threw out here, but you guys will be great at it. But both of you will also be part of the superintendent student advisory committee. We're going to start that up. And it's often easy for you to get the voice of, or easier for you to get the voice of high school students. But through this lens, on a regular basis, you'll be able to hear from students at the middle school and then also at the elementary level. We probably won't get down to the ECC, but we will also have representation from light. So you'll be able to participate in those meetings and those activities, which will really help you to be able to listen and hear what are some of those things. You've already gone through elementary, you've gone through middle, but it's changed a little bit, and you'll be able to speak to that voice and work with the students. I know I reached out to both of you to talk about your comfortability in being able to help, especially at the middle school, to mentor students to be able to step into things and roles like the two of you have been in. So I'm super excited about that. So there's going to be a lot of ways for you to get that voice. As we think to be preparing for board meetings, the packets are put out, you're given the information or the various topics. What do you each do individually to prepare for our meetings?
So I like to look at the board packet. I look at all of them. I look at the financial updates, all the 100 pages of those, just because I like to see what's going on with the district. And then I also think about the different items that are on the agenda. And I was like, what could something be a student opinion about this? Do I have any questions myself that I think would be good to be asked? Or what are some possible questions that the board could have about this? And is there any information I need to gather from staff, students about these topics that I can help better frame the conversation about?
Right. So right now it's kind of reading those, but as we take on this new position and all of our cabinet members have different reports and topics, I'm asking them to think about that through the lens of how can we include the voice of the two of you who are representing all 8,300 students that we have in that district. And so from time to time we're going to be talking about this class or these courses or what might be we be missing. And it might be then, Emma, Nico, here, can you gather feedback? And at that time, it'll be a little bit easier to prepare. But right now it's really learning and gathering those kinds of things.
And we also do write the memos for when we do provide an update along with the other administrators. So
absolutely,
that has been a big component also.
Yeah. So it's kind of really learning about that governance here, which is a whole other side of an experience from the school setting. So
yes.
We really do appreciate the time that you take to prepare and will be preparing for things, because it will be able to help bring a robust perspective that we've been missing at the board table for a really long time. So I'm super excited about that. When we talk about excitement, Emma, what excites you the most about being in this role?
What excites me the most is definitely being able to represent all students, and especially the elementary students, because a lot of time Their like opinions are kind of overlooked because they're younger, they don't have much independence. But I work with a lot of kids, over the summer, and I hear what they have to say. They do have ideas and they do have opinions, and I think it's important to recognize those as well, because just because they're younger doesn't mean that they don't matter. So that's what I'm excited about.
As I hear that excitement and ideas coming through my head, and Emma, we're going to have to work on this because I think it might be fun just to even go out and find out from them we could do it as a news report or something where you guys could put a video or capture their excitement. What do they like about school? What is fun about learning? Or what's their favorite subject? Because then you can bring that voice through in different, multimedia modes to the board. So we've got some ideas there, but I know your experience of working with kids will be able to really bring that out. So that's exciting to me. Nico, how about you?
So like Emma, I'm really excited to help represent all students. For me, our special education students, just because they can't communicate through normal means doesn't mean that their voices don't matter. And I think being able to take a hard look at how we gather student voice, and even if it's not through conventional means, we can still receive their feedback about different topics because they're still part of our Huntley 158 community. And I think just being able to see what the different possibilities come up throughout the year with this role.
Nico, one of the things you brought up early on, and it's been as you talk about the work that you've done through some of your courses when we were looking at our special needs population, is to how to bring the student, the portrait of a learner and a portrait of a learning environment to life. And you're constantly coming back to make sure that all of those voices and all of our students are brought forward. And I think that's something that we'll be able to see come through the position that the two of you are working through, is to really take that strategic plan in those two areas and bring that to life from the student's viewpoint. So that's something that I look forward to, the work that you guys will be doing around that area there. We've talked about the importance of listening, trying to get as many voices to be able to bring that to the table. How do you think, or what means might you use to gather some of that input it might be a little easier at the high school, but when we're talking about across the district, how are you going to find ways to gather that?
I had a few ideas myself, whether if it is like a topic that we can just feel that all students are getting experienced on, or they're experiencing within their buildings, and whether that's through surveys or just conversations on the street or at district events, and just being able to, I think, really have those conversations and maybe look at some larger scale projects that we could have to gather all students' feedback.
Emma, one of the things that was a couple weeks ago, there had been some changes at the high school with some scheduling components, and both of you from different groups had heard that. And I think one of the things that I was really impressed on is that you made sure that you brought that forward to me, and you have that line to be able to do so. But you can also be for that voice for the students who maybe don't know how to bring that forward to their building administration or to the district, to be able to say, hey, this is a problem. You might not be aware of this. How can we problem solve together? So there are those means to be able to do, but some of it's just what you hear as you're walking up and down the halls, or part of your activities as well. Do you see that as one of the mechanisms that you're able to kind of hear what's going on the street at the high school?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely?
Yeah.
I think also being a resource for students, like you were saying, I think it's on a near daily basis. Someone comes to me with, this has happened to me, what can I do? And I was like, well, maybe you want to go talk to your counselor, or you're going to want to talk to the athletics office about that. And I think with our knowledge of the district, we can just sometimes also redirect students' concerns of being a resource for them if they don't know where to go for something.
Right. Sometimes it is an appropriate time to bring it to a principal. Maybe it is to go somewhere else, and to be able to take that chain of command or think about the problem at hand and what's the best place for that solution to start. And so again, it might not be the answer they want to hear. They might be like, oh, but you can get this fixed. And well, maybe, but how do we help others to be able to problem solve and work through, conflict as well? So absolutely, thank you for sharing that. We talked at the beginning that both of you are very involved in the school in a variety of different activities, also in the community. How do you think that involvement is going to have a positive impact on the role as the student advisor representatives?
Well, I think it'll have a positive impact by having a more diverse, opinions, because it's like if you're just involved in one group, it's like, the opinions of one group. But I think us being involved in multiple things, talking to a lot of people, I think that'll help us, know a lot of diverse opinions.
Absolutely. Thank you. Nico?
Yeah, I really like to try to pride myself that I do a little bit of everything at Huntley, where I get the athletics perspective with being in Raider Nation, the student council perspective through the more traditional clubs, and I think it allows us to formulate better opinions because two different student groups might have two different opinions, but we can get all those sides and try to find that common ground with all of our students.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of what, a board, there's 7 board members, there's myself, and now we've got 2 student representatives, and it is to be able to figure out, hear all those things, and then what is the best common ground and moving forward. Something that others might not know that are out there is that in this role, there's different ways that we could have titled this. And looking at it as that student advisory board representative was important because as a board member, right, those are positions that are elected positions. In this case, you applied and went through that component. Some differences where you'll have a seat at the table and we'll have conversation. You're not a voting member. And so with that, you're able to provide important feedback, which is critical for our board to be able to make those decisions. And I think that's something as students know that they may come to you of, hey, you can change this, you can make that, not through a vote, but through sharing and being able to provide information, which again is the first step and probably the most important step so that the rest of us can make those decisions. So just wanted to share that a little bit with our viewers and our listeners on what does this mean now? Do we have 9? Well, we've still got our 7 board members, but the 2 of you will be playing a critical role in that, and it's really exciting. So we're going to wrap it up here with one last question, and I want you to think about what is it that you hope will be the biggest impact that you can bring to this position?
I think for me, this is what I could think about. It's what can I do to leave my mark on Huntley? And we really, as senior year goes along, we really think about what our legacies are. Mm-hmm. And I think this is one that can be setting up a long-standing structure for student voice so that it's not just this year, it's for the 10, 15 years when maybe none of us are still here, we can still have student advisory representatives. And I think really setting up this structure is something that I'm very proud of.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. Emma, how about you? What do you hope to be a big impact? And you get to have 2 years in this role of thinking about that. It could be this year or over the course of the next 2 years.
I hope to impact the students so they know that they have a voice and that their voice matters. Mm-hmm. Because just so people know that there's their what they think it matters. It can this position can help bring their ideas forward, and that that the school isn't just overlooking them.
Mm-hmm. Nico had mentioned students as the customer, right? The things that we do are here to prepare all of our students to be able to be successful in the pathway that they go. And that is extremely important to remember that their voice, your voice matters. And it's bringing that now to the table. So thank you, Nico and Emma, for joining us today on Raider Roundtable. And a big thank you to the Huntley Area Public Library for the use of their recording studio. But before signing off, here's a little fun fact. Every year, the Illinois State Board of Education releases the Illinois Report Card, which measures the performance of public schools across the state. This year, 3 Huntley 158 elementary schools, McCaben, Conley, and Legee, received an exemplary designation, which means they're among the top 10% of schools in the state of Illinois. Only 7 schools in McHenry County received an exemplary designation. All other Huntley 158 schools received the next highest rating of commendable. I am so proud of the work and the growth in every one of our buildings. I hope our staff and administrators across the district share that same sense of pride for the work and commitment to supporting student success that they are playing a huge role in. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Raider Roundtable, where it's all students always. Until next time.